All right, welcome to the Daily Space Weather. Welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Welcome to the Geomagnetic Storm as we are at a KP5 during this solar minimum as volcanoes continue to explode and hurricanes hit and also earthquake swarms in predicted areas. So no screwing around today, too much stuff to cover. Check out the sun in 193 angstroms. You see that coronal hole rotating out. We see an early increase in the solar wind speed. We're over 100 kilometers per second. Here's a view at 171 angstroms. See that coronal hole there also, super well defined. As well as, I would note the North Pole coronal hole, looking pretty large once again. Go back to 193 for a minute. Looks from this image that the South Solar Pole has increased in strength and the North Solar Pole has decreased in strength, oddly. So anyway, going to move on to more data, so stay tuned. But first, let's talk about the mission. Now the mission is to assist study and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects. Hint, all your weather comes from space. To connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach. To demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions to problems. To publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner. As I'm well-rounded. To assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon in order to do important things like save lives and resources. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. If you want to share our mission with potential donors, check it out at smashomash.com/forum/mission. Now, we've recently announced a change in the Patreon tiers. As of just a few minutes ago, we've got a $9.99 tier. That's going to be the new tier. We call it the Gold tier. So for all of you folks that are $1 per month patrons, you're going to need to get out of that tier by October 31st when we completely get rid of it entirely. So check us out on Patreon. We did put up this little message here about that. Anyway, there's a live stream on YouTube about it, so watch that. Also, you can support the channel via PayPal, since YouTube pays us nothing, or the Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign, specifically formulated for our spaced out viewers. Links below the video in the description. So if you're in the market for CBDs, please buy them via our links and help to keep us in existence. Now, we've seen a big uptick in the solar wind, just right around 600 kilometers per second right now for the speed, and the solar wind density, 7.05. So above where it was yesterday at this time. And let's just make sure we can see all the date stamps here. There we go. And the ACE agrees with the Discover craft. 10.7 centimeter radial flux has come up one solar flux unit to 67, still solar minimum conditions as this coronal hole wind stream hits. Again, we find ourselves at a KP of 5, folks, so here's 4 hours of data on the magnetosphere. And we see a fairly average density coming in here, nothing too crazy. We will see a heightened pressure when we view that in a moment. We'll let that play through. Again, that's 4 hours of data. High density is blue and low density is white. Here's the pressure. And we see a very high pressure. We've got some Van Allen belt charging going on right now and some earthly charging and discharging happening. Again, KP index at 5. It's a geomagnetic storm. Here are the geospace ground magnetic perturbations. We do expect to see increased auroras at this time, so if you're in a place that can view auroras, get some footage for us. Take a picture, take a video. Take a lounge chair outside. Anyway, there's the view from the poles. And we do see evidence of polar shift happening. Here's the view from the Earth, the global view. Shout out Alex Jones if you're watching and you think that we're a globalist. If you think we're a globalist channel, please leave a comment. Perhaps we'll pin it. Anyway, there are the ground geospace magnetic perturbations. Again, KP is at 5, folks. We got the coronal hole wind stream a solid day before we expected it. And let's continue on with even more data, such as the ionosphere movie. Going to look at 6 hours of the ionosphere. We do see some charge-discharge going on in there. Pretty significant discharge on the nighttime side. And it got all the way up to, I think, up to 12 megahertz there on the daytime side just a couple hours ago. Here's the latest image at 8:15 UT, looking pretty normal, a little on the discharge side on the non-sun facing portion of the Earth, where you see this red blob over the South Atlantic anomaly. We actually have seen a little bit of motion here in the GOES X-ray flux, still nothing resembling a B-class flare. Electron flux is cratered, but the higher density portion has come up a bit. Probably going to re-crater here, as we're expecting to see a significantly sustained coronal hole wind stream. This is probably going to go on for a solid day. I would say maybe 30 hours if I had to guess, due to the shape of that coronal hole, as there's not much else to work with to guess how a coronal hole wind stream will work. And here's the location of stuff. Here's where stuff will be in 1 week, God willing. It's a gibbous waxing. And here's the Aurora Borealis forecast, complete with timestamps. Keep in mind this is based on a model also, folks. So we are seeing an increased aurora there, especially around 2 o'clock UT. Looks like it's calmed down a little bit, oddly. So that's something to watch throughout the day as we expect continued perturbations. GOES magnetometer is spiky and all over the place, as you would expect. And there is some activity rising on the sun too. Here's the Gong 2 data. This is 1 hour, 53 minutes old. And we see a bit of a magnetic battle going on the far side of the sun there. I would anticipate that's caused by some sort of plage or a sunspot south of the equator due to the way these fields are operating. Keep in mind, magnetic environments can change with absolutely no warning. Here's a view from stereo A. There is a giant plasma plume kind of facing to the south of the Earth right now. There was a little bit of ejecta that we covered yesterday. If you want to see the graphics of that, watch yesterday's video. Here's where stuff is above my head. Check out in-the-sky.org's Sky Map 2 if you want to know where things are above yours. And let's do the earthquake rundown. Earthquake rundown. About 21 hours ago, we see a 4.5 kicking off at 100 kilometers depth, northern Mariana Islands. Followed about an hour and a half later by a 4.4 at Peru, that one also at depth. Dear Western South America, please be prepared for a large quake, as you've been seeing deep quake after deep quake. Here's one at Bosnia and Herzegovina, 4.8 magnitude quake there. We have been seeing an uptick there over the past months. Here's a 4.5 at Greece. Again, been seeing an uptick there as well. Here's another South American quake, also at depth. Again, heads up South America for a larger quake in the western portion, especially the west central portion, right where this one is here. That's the spot right there. All right. So 4.1 in Afghanistan, that one's at depth. Please leave a shout out, leave a comment if you're viewing from Afghanistan. Here's a 4.1 in Mexico. Looks like it's perhaps in the Gulf. 4.8 at Vanuatu. 4.2 at Alaska, out in the Aleutians. I know there's a bunch of volcanic islands out there, super interesting. 4.6 in the Philippines, and shout out to David Dubine, the most recent quake here only occurring about a half an hour ago at Taiwan. Let's do a zoom. All right, probably didn't feel that one, David. It's off of the eastern coast, southeastern coast. Moving on to the pressure map. So here's the windy.com pressure map. Now this is the GFS model for Wednesday at about 1 a.m. UT. So we've advanced this for that reason. This is where we're expecting this to be based on the GFS model on Wednesday, as it looks like it's going to be a dud, folks. I think there's a lot of alarmism going on about this. And anyway, here's the GFS model. We'll let this play through real quick, and then we'll zoom out so you can see the rest of the world pressure map. We're going to show you the rainfall expectations as well as real-time images in a moment, so stay tuned if you want to see the high-res weather attribution section. Anyway, there's where that is. Let's zoom out here, get the world pressure view that we typically always cover. There we go. Here's where it is now. Here's where it'll be in about 1 day. Again, that's the GFS model. And there's the advancement. Now we know people are super interested in the weather situation. Let's do the volcano rundown, as Shivaluch is still exploding, still producing a 34,000-foot ash plume, allegedly. Also Mount Aso, 6,000-foot ash plume there. Sakurajima, I don't know what that says, some kind of volcanic ash. Sanjiang Api, 10,000-foot ash plume there. Tukono exploding, producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. Fuego, possible volcanic ash emission. Sabancaya, explosive activity continues there with a 24,000-foot ash plume. And please do not do a back handspring over Nevados de Chilean. It's exploding and producing a 13,000-foot ash plume. Also, don't fly your homemade helicopter over Nevados de Chilean. Next, we're going to look at null school. Here's the winds of Hurricane Dorian in its current mode. And this is at the surface level. Let's go up to the jet stream and see what the inputs look like. There's 1,000 feet. Here's flight level 25,000, aka the jet stream level. And this thing does not look super organized to me, folks, as we should be seeing at this higher level. We should be seeing more of an input here, and we don't. So it looks like, once again, I'm going to be predicting that this is going to be a dud, just like I did last year when the hurricane started to hit, and many alarmist YouTube channels had people's panties completely bunched up. Now, my mom lives in Central Florida, sort of, I'll just say north of Orlando. Shout out, Mom. The GFS model saying you're not going to get very much even rain. So let's zoom out, look at the worldwide jet streams here. From flight level 25,000. Here's the Western world. Meridional jet stream flow at its finest. And here's the East. Massive meridional jet stream flow in the northern hemisphere, including portions of the jet stream going the wrong way and doubled up, as well as spots where the jet stream doesn't exist. Southern jet completely concentrated, doubled up, tripled up in this area. Moving on. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar. There is one pretty severe storm there over northeastern Texas, as well as northeastern Kansas, as the central U.S. basically barely gets a respite. We're not going to spend any time monkeying around with this, as we know what everybody wants to see. And there it is, Hurricane Dorian. Now, 2 days ago, we saw a Borg cube flying over the northern U.S. Yesterday, we saw a Borg sphere flying over the U.S. And now I think we see a Borg mothership flying over the U.S. Please leave a comment if you've gotten a photograph or a video of that Borg mothership. Anyway, there's Dorian. We're going to zoom in on it. We're looking at the GOES interactive weather satellite here. This is the shortwave radiation. This is what we use to look at clouds themselves. This is the nighttime equivalent to the visible satellite, folks. We're going to zoom in a minute. And there's the current state of affairs. Now, it is very concentrated right now. It has been upgraded to a Cat 4, so it's got very high winds. I believe they're around 125 miles per hour right now. And you have a very concentrated eye wall there, but this is going to run into problems. And we'll be able to see it evidently on the water vapor, what's going to happen here. But for now, it's super concentrated. When you see an eye wall that's that round and that perfectly round shaped like that, that's an indication of a very strong hurricane. And here's the water vapor map. Keep in mind this does show water vapor that has not condensed onto clouds as well as water vapor that has condensed onto clouds. So I would note all of this dry air up here. This is dry, massive air here. This is African dust, and this is not going to help the storm. It's going to hinder it, and the storm is going to need to get past this massive air before it's able to make its right turn. It's going to go up the coast according to the GFS models. In fact, I think all models are pretty much showing that same thing now. And let's look at even more views. So here's the zoomed out view. And you can see there's also a bunch of dry, massive air there stretching from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to North Carolina. That's a good thing, as that will weaken the storm if those systems start to come together. Although there is some hot water in between the storm and Florida. So we're going to show you the precipitation total models in a minute, so stay tuned for that. Here's the GFS model and tropical tidbits. It's showing South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia receiving the brunt of the rain, up to 24 inches. So Florida is not expected to get hit, and this is through Friday, September 6th at 18 Zulu, otherwise known as 18 Universal Time. So at 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on Friday, that's what we're expecting to see. And there's how it's going to hit. It's going to hit the Bahamas with massive rains and probably a massive storm surge. But as far as Florida, GFS model is not showing it hitting. South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia expected to get schmaltzed, kaplastered, as those yellows are from 12 to 24 inches of rain. And thanks for tuning in, Smash Team, to the Daily Space Weather. We're going to produce another video shortly, and stay tuned for one more bonus feature. It's the colorized magnetogram. You gotta have it. As this shows you the individual field areas on the sun, it's super high res. 1024 by 1024 if you're wondering. Not a lot going on, folks. Solar minimum, but a lot of stuff going on Earth. So stay tuned for another video coming out soon. Remember, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink it. If you drink, stare at the sun anyway, just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.